Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Book Culture in the Village of Pittsford, wishing peace, hope, and love to the community this holiday season, offering books and gifts for people of all ages to explore. More at bookculture.com.
From WXXI News, this is Connections. I'm Evan Dawson. Well, we are kind of having an end-of-the-year party. This is one of our favorite shows of the year, and we're doing it live this year because we wanted to invite the audience to participate. It's Rochester and Western New York's favorite books of 2025. We've been doing this since 2014. We ask people across our community to share their favorite books that they read this year, giving you some ideas on books that you might have never heard of or books that you might have missed, ideas for you to read in the future. Doesn't have to be a book that came out this year, just books that our guests or our audience members have read this year, something that really sparked a fire for you in some way. And we are thrilled to keep this conversation going. And let me welcome our guests who are in studio now. Hello to Emily Hessney Lynch, the owner and founder of Serve Me the Sky Digital, host of the podcast It's a Lot, adjunct professor at Nazareth University. And Emily is the second Emily on the show today, and also the second person to have read 109 books exactly this year. That is so weird.
Very uncanny coincidence.
That is so cool. There's a reason that last hour I was like, wait a second. I thought the Emily from the second hour had read 109 books. And Emily Clasper from the Monroe County Library System was like, no, I did 109.
That's what Emily's do.
On the money. 109. You're going to finish more than 109, though.
Probably.
You got time.
Maybe one or two more.
You got a little time. Amazing. Great to have Emily back with us. Across the table, Adrienne Pettinelli, director of the Henrietta Public Library. Nice to see you again.
Great to be here.
And Jim Byrne, adult programming librarian at the Henrietta Public Library. Jim, welcome back to you. Nice to see you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, there's a lot to talk about here. This does feel like just a party with friends talking about books. And listeners, we encourage you to share with us the best book you read or the most enjoyable read or something that you want other people to know about. Connections@wxxi.org is the email address. Connections@wxxi.org. If you're watching on YouTube, join the chat there. Share some thoughts with us. I get to this time of year every year, and my father, who needs and wants nothing in life, but reads he might read 150 books a year. I mean, nothing wrong with 109, but he's like one of those guys who it might be a book every other day. And so I was like, well, what are we going to do? He's read everything he wants to read. And then I saw a review of the 1980s movie called Fletch with Chevy Chase, and I did not know that it was based on a 1975 novel called Fletch, and it became a series of Fletch novels, kind of these gritty mystery, grungy. The character in the book is a little grungier than the character that Chevy Chase plays, but I thought, okay, cool, I'm going to get him the novel for Christmas, and and I found out he's already read that. But, hey, you learn something new all the time, and there's great books out there still surprising you. So our guests have a lot to share. 109 books means you're reading about a book every 3 days. Is that about right?
Sounds about right.
Okay. Are you somebody who will quit a book after 30 or 40 pages if it's not any good?
I've gotten a lot better about that. I think life's too short to read books you're not enjoying, so I do DNF sometimes.
How many DNFs this year?
Oh, gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. At least 10 or 15, probably.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Wow, that's so many books. Awesome. Well, you've got a long list. You got to choose one to start. Where are you going?
So for starters, All of Us Murderers by K.J. Charles was one of my absolute favorites. It is a gothic murder mystery, but also a queer romance, and it's historical fiction. So it's got something for everyone. All of her books are usually a delight, and it was just really hard to put down, and it's very funny. There are so many lines that hit you, and you actually laugh out loud. Like, people say that in reviews, but usually you don't literally laugh out loud. I literally did laugh out loud at the writing at times.
I actually think that if you're reviewing and you said you laughed, my expectation is you actually audibly laughed out loud, which is rare. But you're saying this book will do it.
And I did take pictures of lines, underline them, send them to friends, and be like, this is so funny.
You also said that this has a perfect ending.
Yeah, no, I think she does a really nice job
What
making...
was the ending?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you the ending. But it's very cinematic feeling, and there's she has progressive themes and a lot of her historical romance, and it's just really nice to see people are not exactly getting their revenge, but there's kind of a comeuppance, or people are held to account in various ways.
All of Us Murderers.
Yes. It's a very horrible family. This guy has to go back and see his terrible family. There's an inheritance on the line. Everyone wants to kill each other. And also the guy that he was dating, they got fired from their last job together, and they reunite unexpectedly at this house. So,
And the protagonist has ADHD in this?
he does, yeah.
Do you think ADHD is written well or poorly, generally?
I think some people rely pretty heavily on stereotypes to write it, but I think a lot of folks are doing a better job representing it now. And it can look so many different ways. So I think just having different diverse ways of representing it on the page is good.
Well, we've got a lot to go through here, so we better not linger too long here because Emily Hessney Lynch could do this all day. All of Us Murders by K.J. Charles is going on the list there. That was on Emily's list of could not put it down category. All right, across the table we go. Adrienne Pettinelli, your first choice, 2025.
So mine's not as fun as Emily's, but I found it riveting. Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. It's a nonfiction book, and Wynne Williams was an executive level worker at Meta, Facebook and then Meta, for many years working in government relations, mostly working with foreign governments. And this is kind of a whistleblower book going into what the motivations of that company are, how it operates with foreign governments, the way that it interacts with people's privacy and things like that. I found it fascinating to kind of get that look at how the day-to-day operations of this big company that affects all of us really operates. She actually, I feel like you'd be hearing a lot more about it, but she signed a non-disparagement agreement.
Non-disparagement.
With the company, and so they have not sued for libel or anything to silence her, but basically they came to an agreement legally that the book can be out there, it can be sold, but she may not promote it. So she's been winning awards for this book, and she kind of has to go and be like, thank you. That's
The
all
end.
she can
The
say.
end. What's the name of the book?
It's called Careless People. Yeah, and it was fascinating. It gets into a lot of international politics, too, which is not a normal subject for me. But I learned a lot, and I've recommended it to a lot of people. And it's also like, it's a page turner.
Am I going to walk away from this disliking Mark Zuckerberg even more?
Correct. Correct.
But it's already pretty high level.
Yeah.
Of dislike.
Yeah. I mean, although, honestly, there's scenes, you can tell she has a fondness for him, too, even though she also feels like he's a dangerous person. And that piece is interesting, too, to kind of see the humanity of this person who's been portrayed in so many ways. I mean, I still kind of don't want him there
In power.
doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to kind of see a more, three-dimensional person.
Okay. I mean, I feel like this book's going to upset me.
I mean, don't.
But it's probably
don't
also
read it during
important.
the holidays.
It's
You know
not
what
holiday
I'm saying?
Maybe the doldrums of winter.
Yes,
Were there
exactly,
any
like
surprises?
February when you're depressed.
Were there any surprises to it, or is it all a lot of like the terrible things we already kind of know?
To me, it confirmed a lot of what I had. You read this, you read that, you think this, you think that. It does confirm, I think, a lot. But also, I thought more was benign that was intentional.
That's interesting.
And that it was very interesting to me because I definitely thought they were just blundering along, and that's how some of these negative effects have happened. But no, there are intentional choices that have been made, and that's dismaying.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it because people are human beings, and I do appreciate the fact that she has some affection for him, just as any human being should have layers. I'm sure he does. But I think of the interview that Sam Altman did with Jimmy Fallon recently and talked about how he couldn't imagine raising a baby without ChatGPT. And I'm going like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, we are being led by very, very powerful people. It's a small group of a lot of concentrated power. And I think the power and the tech world they're in has distorted their relationship to most average people. But most average people don't really know what they're about and how they see the future, and they're going to shape the future. So, great. Thank you for that, Adrienne.
I'll pick a more upbeat one for.
Honestly, it sounds important enough that I think I'm going to read it.
Yeah,
I mean, it does sound
I
important.
think everybody should read it. We're all engaging with this, whether we want to or not.
That's exactly right. It's tech changes and this has been true forever, but they're especially true now, it's anti-democratic. I mean, we don't get a vote, but it is going to be imposed. So what's the name of the book and the author?
It is, let me grab it again, Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams.
And you won't see the author on an interview tour. Wow, what an amazing story. Okay, Jim, first up here.
Lighter note. Yeah, let's go with, I've got I love a music
You can do
biography.
whatever you want. You can go as dark as you want, whatever.
I've got a lot of dark books in the hopper, but I'm going to go with the lighter one. I love a music biography, a nonfiction title about a band or an artist, a musician. So I'm going with the one I started the year with, which is, the name of this band is R.E.M. by Peter Carlin. And this is, I'm born in 1982, so I kind of came of age more in the 90s, so I was more familiar with their albums from that decade, Monster, Out of Time, Automatic for the People, things like that, when they were already kind of established in like this massive rock
Not when
band.
they were like hanging out with the Indigo Girls in the 80s.
Exactly.
And kind of coming up.
But that's what's great about these kind of books, and this one's excellent, highly recommend, is that you're reading through it, you're seeing who they're interacting with, you're seeing their early days, and you just go back through the back catalog, right? If you have Spotify or go on YouTube or whatever you're listening to music on, if you go to the record archive, digging through the files there, you just go back and just discover all this music you had no idea about. And that's such a delight for me to sit there and read, have a drink next to me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to check this out. And, the B-52s appear in there because they're from Athens, Georgia, this whole situation, the music scene down there. It's just one of these excellent music biographies that I think more people should check out.
There was a lot happening in Georgia at that time. I mentioned the Indigo Girls, B-52s, R.E.M. It was a really interesting scene. I would love reading this story because it was such a different time. I mean, I say that not to be cliche. It really was a different time. And there was a lot of crossover work. I mean, as far as I understand it, because I was a huge Indigo Girls fan, because of Columbia House, by the way.
Yes.
Remember Columbia House that we all owe money to?
For a
Keeping
penny.
on the theme from last
12
time.
albums for a penny?
12 albums for a penny, and you're going, this can't work.
Yeah.
Like, this model cannot work.
My mom got so mad at me.
And the reason it didn't work is nobody ever paid Columbia House, and now we all owe Columbia House. And then guess what? They're out of business. But I ended up getting, my brother and I got Indigo Girls by accident. I ended up loving them, and they have a song called Kid Fears from one of their 1980s albums in which Michael Stipe sings on it, and he is haunting. It's beautiful. But it turned out they actually did a lot together. So I want to read the R.E.M. early story. That's fun.
These 80s albums that I discovered through this book are like some of my favorite music.
Oh, you're going back and digging through. And
I love it. It's the best.
That's
best.
great. So the name of the book?
The name of the book is, the name of this band is R.E.M. and the author is Peter Carlin.
Awesome. That is a great rec. All right. So on we go to some emails from listeners. Here is Kathy, who recommends Raising Hare by Chloe Dalton. Says it's an amazing story of a woman who finds a newborn hare, Hare, and raises it to maturity, all the while respecting its wildness. Says it's a moving and fascinating meditation on freedom, trust, loss, and our relationship with the natural world. What a cool recommendation, Kathy. Thank you for that. Mo in, I think, Colorado, Maureen is listening, says, I have loved this broadcast. Where can I see the list? I was driving, so I couldn't write the books down. That was your only chance, Mo. That's all you got. No, we are collating everything, and producer Megan Mack has nothing to do, so she's going to create the list for I'm kidding. She's looking at me, staring. That was a joke. That was a joke. We do have a whole team now. David Griffin, Julie Williams, Rob Braden. I'm not even going to keep going down the list here. But we're going to create the list for you, Mo. So we'll have it in our show notes where you find Connections podcasts later when we post on the website. So we'll get that for you there. And in Penfield, Carolyn says, my choice for favorite book is North Woods by Daniel Mason, the story about a cabin built early in our country's history. As time advances, different habitants occupy the cabin, human, animal, and insect. Each chapter features one or more of these residents. It is beautifully written, blending history, mystery, nature, and romance. It requires the reader's imagination to connect the dots to its conclusion. That's from Carolyn in Penfield. The book North Woods by Daniel Mason. That's a cool one there. Anybody heard of that one?
Yeah, it's excellent. That was one of my favorite books of last year. It's one of the better books I've read probably this decade.
Very good. Really cool one there. Okay, we'll get back to your emails. Again, keep them coming. Listeners, we'll share as many as we can here. If you want to email us your favorite book you read this year, it's Rochester's Favorite Books 2025. Email us, connections@wxxi.org. Emily Hessney Lynch was not bragging when she mentioned she read 109 books and maybe started 10 more that she didn't finish. But how do you find books to read? I mean, like this, your list goes far and wide here. Where are you getting books from?
Yeah, I'm very all over the place with my reading preferences, a lot of eclectic genres and stuff. But I do read advanced copies through NetGalley, and sometimes I just get bored and browse through NetGalley and see what titles catch my eye in there. Other times it's through social media or just through friends. Sometimes I pick up a random thing off a display at the library. So a little bit of everything.
And in your list of 25 that I saw before this program, there's somewhat some spiciness. I was reading before the show about where we're going in terms of overall readership, and obviously people are reading fewer books. Teenagers, the stats are really depressing. If you look at how many books kids and teenagers are reading for pleasure, if you compare the mid 70s, 50 years ago to now, it's a big drop, and we're all wanting to find ways to change that. But one of the genres doing well, despite all this, is romance. Like, what's going on there, Adrienne Pettinelli? How's the romance section at Henrietta Public Library?
Very lively on many levels.
Scorching.
Yes. I like to read romance myself. It's not my primary genre, but it's so fun, especially, after you read about whatever depressing thing on the news or whatever, you can just kind of kick back and read one of these things. I read this year the Cinnamon Bun Cafe. Like, I can't tell you what it was about. There was like a cinnamon bun cafe and people were happy and it was nice. It was nice.
And spicy?
It was a little spicy. That was like medium spice, I would say. It was right. It's cinnamon. It's not like sriracha,
right.
Or wasabi.
So you're saying it's right. So it's escapist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, so anyway, I was curious to know. I don't know if listeners agree with that or not in terms of what you're picking up, but that's a genre that's selling well, that's doing well.
A friend of mine, Evan, is also Ella Dawson, and she has a podcast called Rebel Ever After that's about progressive romance novels. So I definitely recommend that if anyone is interested in learning about that niche of the genre.
Are you choosing romance novels sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah. I think
for escapist reasons?
A little bit. Sometimes I just need something a little lighter that I know will have a happy ending, but I also read a lot of historical romance because that makes it feel a little more escapist to me than something set in modern times.
Okay. All right. I think that's very interesting. All right. Selection number 2 for you. You can't do 109. What's number 2?
I'll go in a darker direction for this one. Hum by Helen Phillips is a kind of dystopian, somewhat surrealist. I think it's speculative fiction, technically, as the genre, but it is about a world that feels very close to our own. It's kind of a surveillance state, and this woman gets a surgery. It's very hard to afford the cost of living. She gets a surgery that slightly alters her face, so facial recognition doesn't work on her, and it's very experimental, but she gets paid a huge sum of money. And in this world, like, you can't really access nature unless you are rich. So she uses the money to go to this nature preserve with her family, and things go very off the rails from there. Like, her kids are kind of bratty in the book. They like run away and they don't appreciate the nature preserve. And the book just has all these twists and turns, and you ultimately find out that like the facial recognition thing was to see how long it took to like have the surveillance figure out how to identify someone who is unrecognizable. So it was like being used against her all along. And yeah, it's very dark. It feels very prescient in a lot of ways. And the author cites all these articles at the end from modern things that influenced her thinking on where and how we would get to this point.
It's set in the future?
Yeah, roughly.
I mean, like near future?
It feels near future.
See, we talked about this last hour, but I feel like an idea for a book that I have, this is why I would never sell any books, is a future in which everything goes well. Everything is pretty much drama-free. Tech is being used for good. People feel like they have privacy, but also connection. People are not addicted to technology needlessly. People still read and spend time together in person. Governments don't push toward just overusing resources and weaponry. That sounds great.
Make it a romance novel.
What
and people will read it.
Yeah.
Get a little spice in there.
It's got to be a romance novel.
There you go.
I knew it. I was on the wrong genre the whole time. No, I mean, there's not a whole lot of like hopeful books about the future. And that's tough because, we've talked a little bit about the idea of raising kids and how hopeful that act is. So when you read a lot of the speculative fiction, surveillance states, invasions of privacy, dystopian uses of technology. Does that mess up how you think about like bringing kids into the world?
That's such a good question. The ending of this one was really interesting too, because there are the hum that comes from the title is like a robot AI type thing. And at the end, this hum comes to their home and is like telling them the story. Like she's basically been canceled and the hum is sharing the story that shows kind of what's going on and why she reacted the way she did. And people are judging her so harshly. And it really like understands her and her motivations and shows how human she is. But the AI having this understanding of human emotion is also very concerning.
Unsettling? Yeah.
And I think you can interpret the ending a lot of different ways. We're getting into spoilery territory if anyone doesn't want to listen. But like you could interpret it as the hum wrote the whole book. And then if the AI can make art, is that concerning as well? Like it's very like weird, icky feelings, but it also felt somehow hopeful and uplifting that you are not going to cancel this person because you do truly listen to their story and understand them. I don't know.
All right. So real quick here on that subject of AI art creation in libraries, are we seeing any books that are fully AI written right now? You got any?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they in Henrietta Library?
I don't think so.
I know there's at least one poetry book that was written all AI, and that was kind of how it was advertised. I'm going blank on the name right now. But
I mean, is that something you want to read, Jim?
no.
I don't either.
Yeah, not at all. Like the point of reading, you want to connect with humans, right? And no offense to the robots, as my grandmother would say, but I want to read. I want to read the human experience.
Yeah, I agree. How do you feel about that, Adrienne?
Yeah, it's not of interest to me. I've been trying to learn about AI instead of just hating it. So I've been doing a little bit more reading and playing around with it. And I just find it like, yeah, maybe it could like write an email for me or something, but why? I mean, I still like humans, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just think we're important and should keep like doing stuff.
I think we are. I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see art subsumed by AI, and our culture is going to have to decide real quick if we're good with that.
It's all over
It's
Amazon,
everywhere. Yeah.
all over.
Yeah.
Like if you buy a book on there, it's all over there.
You see the bands too. There was a AI band that was on Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
They like didn't let you know until a month later. Like, oh, surprise, they're not real.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
No. I agree. We at least we should have transparency as art consumers about what is AI. Mm-hmm. Okay. Back to the favorite books of 2025. That's like, I'm like the guy at the party, like, are you talking AI again? Don't talk about AI. We're having fun. So, Adrienne, next choice. What do you got?
So it turns out the most cheerful book on my list is this middle grade post-apocalyptic novel. It's one of my favorite children's books of the year. It's called Scarlet Morning by N.D. Stevenson. It's about these two kids, Viola and Wilbur, who are orphans.
Such a fun orphan book.
It's very funny. And in this, it is maybe a future. It's not clear. This is the first in a series. And the ocean has turned largely to salt. And so this has made travel very difficult. It's made daily existence very difficult. And these two are kind of abandoned on this island. And this woman, Captain Cadence Chase, swoops in, takes them away. Under some, we learn, false pretenses. She promises them this and that. But then we learn she has this Scarlet Morning who killed the queen and has been on a murderous rampage ever since, legendarily. And so the kids become aware of this. And now they're like, uh-oh, we're with this lady who's got bad intentions, but they like her because she's nice. And so now we're starting to maybe say, okay, is this who she is? Is it not? Adventures ensue. There are pirates. There are revelations about the kids' past, about the whole universe's past. And it's one of these things that's like, if you like something that could be described as having a mythology, you know, like Lost or Lord of the Rings, things like that. It kind of hits that nerve. It's fantasy, it's fun, but obviously also deals with some serious topics. I guess that's all I read.
You landed the plane. It was a rocky takeoff there, but we got there. What's the name of the book and the author?
It's called Scarlet Morning by N.D. Stevenson.
Scarlet Morning by N.D. Stevenson. All right, Jim, how do you follow that? What do you got?
I've got Homestand by Will Bardenwerper. So he's a veteran. He wrote about the Batavia Muck Dogs, who were they used to be a minor league team, a proper minor league team,
As an affiliated with the major league,
exactly,
but still, I think been an independent league team.
Now
too.
they are. Now they have college ball players.
Yep.
So on and so forth. But in 21, I think it was, they were contracted by MLB along with a lot of other teams. So his books, he spends his summer in the stands there a couple of years ago, and it's, you know, it gets to the heart of minor league baseball and what makes it so special and why it's such a real, like, American thing, that you go there and there's this cross section of everybody's there, right? If you go to the Red Wings game right down the road here, you see everybody here, right? And that's what's magic about it. Hot dog, beer, everything's cheap. You could take the family for less than $100, which is expensive, but that's where we're at now.
Can't do that in the major leagues.
You cannot do that in the major leagues, and that's the point. And he thinks that, you know, more and more teams are going to go to the way of the Muck Dogs and kind of be set aside by MLB, by billionaires running it, and he's, you know, vehemently against that. And spending the time with all the characters you see in there, it's just this. This is right down the road from here too, right? It's between Rochester and Buffalo. It makes you worried about where we're headed. And this kind of gets to the conversation we're talking about with, you know, very few people in charge and kind of taking away these things that we love and we need. And it's really great. He's won a lot of awards for other journalism, and it's another book I highly recommend. Not just if you're a baseball fan, but just economics, just the way the world is going.
A little Americana.
Exactly.
Okay, the name of the book and the author?
Homestand, Will Bardenwerper. That's a mouthful.
Awesome. That'll go on the list, and we are curating this, and we'll have it in our show notes wherever we post this show. However you get your podcasts or where you find Connections later after the live version of it. So we're having a great time with our guests. You're hearing Jim Byrne and Adrienne Pettinelli coming from the Henrietta Public Library. Emily Hessney Lynch is here, one of the most avid readers I know, and always reads a lot of books. And this year is the counter is at 109 books read this year. If you joined us last hour, you're like, is this a repeat of last hour? No. Emily Clasper, director of the Americana Public Library System, is also at 109 books. An Emily each hour at 109 books. That is what Connections brings you. How would you even find that? Amazing.
If we count the books I read to my toddler, we might be in like 300 territory. So
for sure. I can relate to that. After we take this only break, we're going to welcome a couple of authors to join us on the line. Leslie C. Youngblood, Linda Sue Park, and more coming up next on Connections.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Mary Cariola Center, proud supporter of Connections with Evan Dawson, believing an informed and engaged community is a connected one. marycariola.org.
This is Connections. It's Rochester's favorite books. We've been doing this since 2014, and in the past we would sort of pre-record these conversations and string them all together, but we wanted to do this live to welcome the audience in. And I'm stacking up the emails. We're going to get as many as we can in before the end of the hour. Still time for you to share your favorite book from 2025. Connections@wxxi.org. On the line with us is Leslie C. Youngblood, author of Love Like Sky, author of Forever This Summer, among others. Leslie, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I am great, Evan. Thanks for having me.
Well, Leslie, you are an author who people regularly would say, I read a Leslie C. Youngblood, and that was my favorite book this year. But
I love it.
But you can't name yourself, so you got to tell me something you read this year that you say, thank goodness in 2025 I read this. What is it?
I wouldn't ever name my own book.
I know. I would name your book.
I read so many. Well, I didn't do a lot of reading this year as much as normal because I am working on my third novel, but I will say one of the ones that stand out is the Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fernand Jeffers, actually.
Okay.
The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois, clocking in at around 790 pages. That book, I mean, it just made, when I finished it, I said, this is a masterpiece. Epic novel, just intergenerational saga, and it's very, very memorable for me.
And it's a 2021, it was a debut novel by Honoré Fernand Jeffers is a poet. So what a remarkable sort of first work here. Library staff, anybody involved? Do you know this one here?
Do not.
Do not, Jim? Adrienne?
It made a big splash and won a lot of awards the year it came out, but I didn't attempt it because it's so big.
It is quite big.
That is one of the reasons I attempted it. I did not think I would be as enthralled. I mean, I love Honor Ray's work, but this novel, my goodness, it just touched on so many different things of people who don't know Du Bois, about double consciousness, about just this family and everything they've gone through. It has a lot of historically backed college connections. So just one of my favorites, historical and modern times. Everything you can ask for is in this book.
So this is a big wreck here. Any book that's almost 800 pages long, Leslie C. Youngblood is saying it's worth your time. It is
worth your time. You may want to reread it. Actually, I don't plan on rereading it as much as I do Toni Morrison's work. I do read Morrison at least once a year. I will read a Morrison novel, but this is one that I probably will reread within the next couple of years, hopefully.
So the book here is called The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fanon Jeffers. And before we let you go, Leslie C. Youngblood, when are we going to sit down and talk about your next book? What's your timeline?
I'm thinking, Evan, maybe 2027. And can I just mention James, Percival Everett? James will come in second. Absolutely one of my second favorite read, if not a tie between Du Bois and James by Percival Everett.
All right, we'll put those both on the list there. And I want to thank you for making time. Leslie, you know you're always welcome, and we're excited. Whenever that next book comes out, you know where to find us, right?
I will be there, hopefully. Thank you, and hello, Emily, and hello, Jim. Good to hear you guys.
Hey.
Leslie's books, Love Like Sky, Forever This Summer, among others, and they do. I'm not Leslie's agent, but I will tell you they would make a great gift. So
I appreciate your support, Evan. I appreciate it. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
for having
Leslie.
me.
We'll talk to you soon. That's Leslie C. Youngblood. Really a great local author, and always fun to talk to her. Let me grab a phone call, and I think we've got Hoover in Pittsford next on the phone. Hey, Hoover, go ahead.
Hey, Evan, what a great program. We should do this more often.
I know. We should probably make it quarterly.
I know, we should. There's so many good books out there. Ken Burns, in his series about the American Revolution, has stimulated a lot of people to do a lot of reading or rereading of books from that period so they understand what was going on. And one of the things he emphasized was that the American Revolution was also a civil war in this country. It was our first civil war. And there's a book I read this year by Ken Roberts, who's a Cornell alum, and it's called Oliver Wiswell. And Oliver is the main character. He's the son of an attorney who is a loyalist. And the book describes what the loyalists went through in America for about 15 years before they eventually relocated either to England or up to Halifax. And some of them even went to the Bahamas or down to Florida. It's an amazing story because if you don't know what was going on, it was really a civil war. There were people who were imprisoned, their houses were burned or confiscated and sold. It was a big deal, and it's not commonly known and taught in American history classes, even in college. So it's a great book if you want to look at American history from a whole different perspective.
One more time, the name of the book, Hoover.
Ken Roberts.
I'm sorry, I talked over you. Go ahead, Hoover. What's the name of the book?
Oliver Wiswell, Wiswell.
Hoover, thank you.
Kenneth Roberts.
Wait. Appreciate it, Hoover. Happy New Year to you, sir.
And to you, and I hope you got my book. I dropped it off for you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Hoover. That's great stuff. And we're going to put that, we're going to try to collect the listener recommendations as long as we can verify the books here, because we've got a big list brewing here. It's connections at wxxi.org. Hoover snuck through the phone lines there because I haven't mentioned the phones just because if I mention the phones, we're just going to take calls we could probably do it for 5 hours. But it's great. It's great hearing these great recommendations. 844-295-TALK if you want to try to squeeze in. 844-295-8255. 263-WXXI if you're in Rochester. 263-9994. Do we have Linda Sue? Are we ready to go there? Linda Sue Park is our next guest, who was just on the program talking about the new words in the dictionary but I love talking to Linda Sue Park about literature, one of the great authors that we have here. Welcome back here. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great here. So you got to choose one book from 2025. Your favorite book,
One?
your favorite read.
I only get one?
You get one. What's it going to be?
Oh, boy. Okay. It's not, I've got 4 written down here. I was all ready.
Okay, you can do 4. I mean, like, there's no real rules here.
Okay. None of these are new. Okay. My first pick is 1,000 Hills to Heaven by Josh Ruxin, Ruxin, which was published in 2013, and it's a nonfiction memoir account of a family opening a restaurant in Rwanda.
Wow.
It's really something. It's just, if you're interested in food, if you're interested in travel, if you're interested in global development, there's just a lot in this book to think about. I read it and it has not left me.
1,000 Hills to Heaven by Josh Ruxin. All right. What's number
Correct.
2?
Yes. Okay. Number 2 is Oishinbo. 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 It is a graphic novel series about Japanese food. It is so fun. There are, I think, 8 volumes that I know of, and the 2 characters in it take you through different aspects of Japanese food in a kind of a competition. They're attempting to perfect the versions of the Japanese food, like sushi, like rice, like noodles, and so forth. Really
the title
fun.
combines the Japanese words for delicious and glutton.
Yes.
All right. Oishinbo, which is is it manga? It's a manga series?
It's a graphic novel series. Yes, I guess they would say manga. If you Kariya, Kariya, is the author. Hanasaki is the illustrator.
There you go.
Oishinbo, if you look it up that way, yeah.
Oishinbo. All right. What's number 3?
Number 3 is the 9. This is for young readers. That's my wheelhouse. So the 9 Moons of Han, Yu, and Luli. The 9 Moons of Han, Yu, and Luli by Karina Yan Glaser, Glaser. 2 stories, one set on the Silk Road centuries ago, and the other in 1930s New York City. And the way that the author merges them is magical. So that is what you would call a middle grade reader. I would say a good 8-year-old reader through 108 would enjoy this book.
The 9 Moons of Han, Yu, and Luli. Han, Yu, and Luli.
Yes.
Yes. And that's Karina Yan Glaser. Okay.
Yes.
And book number 4, Linda Sue Park.
A picture book for people with little ones or those young at heart. The Courage of the Little Hummingbird. The Courage of the Little Hummingbird, a beautiful picture book written by Leah Henderson and illustrated by Magali Morales. And it is a folktale told in many cultures and countries around the world. And Henderson has done just a wonderful job retelling the story, making it very accessible. And the artwork is just, you could look at every page for hours.
I'm just flipping right now. It's beautiful. The Courage of the Little Hummingbird, a tale told around the world, Leah Henderson. There you go.
That's it. That's 4.
And Linda Sue Park, before I let you go, our guests were talking about, how wide a range these books are that we've been hearing for 2 hours from listeners, from our panelists, and how much wonderful reading that we could all just stop what we're doing and we could just be reading for the next year. There's so many wonderful books, and yet we're about to see the market flooded with AI books, AI poetry. Do you want any of that, Linda Sue Park, as an author?
As an author, of course not. I think that I'm trying to stay calm and do deep breathing about AI because I think it probably has some incredible uses that I don't know much about. But as far as authorship, I would like books that are AI created to say so on the cover.
At minimum, I think that should be the expectation. And
right.
And that's if they're going to be on the market at all. I think we should be asking why we want it. But But if we're going to have them on the market, I think we deserve to know that it's AI.
Yes, I totally agree.
Well,
Can I jump in quick?
Yeah, Emily,
Linda,
yeah.
just before you go, I wanted to say my son loved your book, Bee Bim Bop. We got it from the Strong Museum of Play, and we read it so many times before it had to go back to the library there. So thank you for writing that one. It's a fun one.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I do enjoy sharing that with the littlest ones. It's a lot of fun.
Linda Supark and my older read A Long Walk to Water and then on his own, and then got assigned it in class. So we got the double whammy of Linda Sue Park. Linda Sue, thank you for taking the time as always. Happy New Year to you. We look forward to talking to you in 2026.
Likewise. Take care.
That is the great Linda Sue Park, truly an outstanding author. And I'm going to go around the table. I'm going to give our guests another bite at the apple, and then I'm going to try to read as many emails as I can here because I've got a lot piling up, which is great. Emily Hessney Lynch, your next book, one of your favorite books of 2025. What do you got?
I'm going to go with a fun one, and I have to double check the title because it is so long. Welcome to the Family, the explosive story behind Fast and Furious, the blockbusters that supercharged the world, by Barry Hertz. So this just came out around Thanksgiving, and it dives deep in the Fast and Furious franchise. So if you've ever watched any of those movies, it is just a very entertaining and informative read.
I did not have you pegged as a Fast and the Furious franchise.
We watched them all during COVID, and they're just so silly. You know, you don't have to use your brain that much, and the family themes are always nice, I guess.
Okay. Are you aware of this one, Jim?
No, but I do love, books about movies and behind-the-scenes type stuff. So even if I'm not well-versed in the Fast and Furious verse, I'll have to check that out.
It's a Canadian journalist, and he makes a pretty compelling case that they were really good with like representation from a multicultural perspective before that was the norm in Hollywood, and they made the movies very diverse early on. So that was kind of cool, and you get a lot of information about how they did action scenes and how much they did like for real and not CGI. So really cool stuff. And then some of the drama with like Vin Diesel and The Rock and all of that. So it's a good one.
Oh, wow. You always surprise me, Emily Hessney Lynch.
You gotta have the surprising, Rex.
Give me the name and the title, the name of the author and the title of the book again. There.
Welcome to the Family is the short version by Barry Hertz.
All right. Adrienne Pettinelli, you're next.
So every year I try to read a classic book that I haven't read before, and this year was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which had long been on my list because it's like a classic of Gothic literature, and it did not disappoint at all. I feel like it was even better than I thought it would be. It's twisty, it's very atmospheric, it's got a mystery to it. I just loved it, and it's got this very flowery prose, which should like slow you down, but it works so well. You just like page turn. I read it in like a couple days. Highly recommend if you haven't read that one.
Flowery prose in a good way?
It's so it's describing the estate and the ocean and
but not purple
everything.
Prose.
It's I would say no, it's descriptive but not over the top. It's beautiful. It's a first-person narration, and so you're really learning about that main character who is unnamed in the book, through the way she talks. And I just loved it.
Why'd you choose it?
I love Gothic literature. Like, give me an old, broken down manor any day that's maybe haunted. That is my jam. I've read a ton of books that are on that theme. It's just my favorite. I don't know why. I think because I've always lived in old houses. Maybe it just feels right. But yeah.
All right. The name of the book again?
It's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier.
All right. On to Jim Byrne. What's your next one?
My jam is kind of Irish authors, stories about Ireland. I guess it's in the DNA for me, so I can't help that. But I just read this one. I finished it last week, the week before. It's Heart Be at Peace by Donald Ryan. It's a sequel of sorts to a 2012 book that he put out, which was The Spinning Heart, it's used, there's 21 different chapters. Each one's a different character in it. This is fiction. And that one, the first one was about the recession and how that impacted a small town in Ireland. And this one's more, it's now moving past that. It's the same characters, a lot of the same characters, but it's more about the young people, quick money, drugs have kind of come into the town and how everyone reacts to that. So every chapter is different, and you get these different perspectives, a lot of working class type stuff in here. It's less than 200 pages. It's a great read. His first one was long listed for the Man Booker, so he's an excellent writer, and it's a great piece of literature.
The name and the title, the name of the author and the title of the book?
Donald Ryan is the author. The new one is Heart Be at Peace. You could read it as a standalone, but I would definitely recommend going and grabbing The Spinning Heart, which was the first one.
Worth it.
Yes.
All right, on we go here. I think I got one more phone call I got to squeeze in. This is Alexander in Rochester. Hey, Alexander, keep it tight. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I freaking love the show. But last year I read this book called Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. It's a Chinese author, translated by Ken Liu. It's an incredible sci-fi book. I'm reading the second book currently, but takes place all throughout history in the Cultural Revolution of China and then into the future throughout the book. I don't want to talk about it too much just because it's an incredible read with some great people talking about it, like Slavoj Žižek, the thinker, and President Barack Obama has a review on it. It's just such a good book. Thank you so much for taking my call. You guys are the best.
Oh, Alexander, thank you very much. We appreciate the recommendation. And that's how you do it. That's in and out, man. Thank you very much, Alexander. Thanks for the praise of the show. We're getting so much great feedback from listeners on email. So let me go ahead and read a few more recommendations coming in here. Mark recommends Toss of a Lemon by Padma Viswanathan. That is not one I know here. So again, the team, you're practically a librarian. The amount of books that you read, Emily Hessney Lynch, can jump in if they want here. Mark, thank you for the recommendation there. Dawn loved I See You've Called in Dead by John Kenny. Laugh out loud funny, yet thoughtful reflections on loss, love, and everything in between. That's from Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. Oh boy, this is a longer one. I'm going to have to come back. Oh my, people are really sending everything they read. This is great. That's what we asked for. David sends The Names by Florence Knapp, The Future by Naomi Alderman, The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla Motley, What We Can Know by Ian McEwan, and My Friends by Frederick Backman. That is from David. Some of those familiar. It looks like I got some nods over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly says, A Comfort of Crows by Margaret Rankel. One of the most beautiful books I've ever read. Rankel expertly weaves snippets from her own life into her observations on nature and the passing of time in her own backyard. This is not a book to read all at once. These 52 short essays, one for each week of the year, accompanied by gorgeous illustrations by the author's brother, are best read bit by bit over time. It took me a full year. That's from Kelly. Kelly, thank you for that. This is Alyssa in Rochester, says, Evan, I read The Women by Kristen Hanna this year, and I loved it. As a nurse, it took me back to my first year in the profession, and those feelings of trying to learn everything all at once. It also reminded me of the unique bond and unmatched strength of the friendships that come with nursing. Furthermore, I was totally bewildered by Frankie's dedication and perseverance while in combat. I have even more respect and appreciation for veterans, and I particularly recognize how challenging the transition home can be. Highly recommend The Women by Kristen Hanna. That is from, that's from Alyssa in Rochester. Great stuff there. Okay, and John says a local romance writer, Nora Pritchard of Pittsford, is an extraordinary writer with very popular romance novels that sell in local shops and online. Yes, team?
Yeah, I think she was writing a lot of her books in Pittsford, the library there, and she did some events there. She's a great one.
Okay. Is that one that you know?
I know her as like a content creator and influencer before she started writing romance. I haven't read her romance yet.
Of course you would know that. Of course you would. And John wants to add Three Cheers for North Woods. Amazing book. Best read of the last few years. For me, good recommendation, Carolyn. So a lot of great recommendations.
I have one more if I can sneak one more in.
We've got 2 minutes. You can. We're going to give you 30 seconds apiece for our final recommendation. Go ahead.
Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa. So it's a Japanese novel translated. It is about a woman living with myotubular myopathy, a severe disability where she's in a wheelchair and uses a ventilator. She writes erotica in her spare time and gets endless degrees and decides she wants to have sex before she dies, and things really go off the rails from there. So really unexpected ending that will make you be like, what just happened? And it is a really fun, weird read.
Every 10 words that you just said in the last 30 seconds were not the next 10 words I expected, given how that all started. That was just a series of surprises. Okay, Next recommendation, Adrienne Pettinelli. Go ahead.
So I'll recommend a picture book, New and the Sea. It's called by Isabella Kung. It's a one that I think might win a Caldecott Award this year. I watch that every year. It's about a girl who kind of has big feelings and she has to work through them. It's beautiful, beautiful art. It reminds me of Where the Wild Things Are, and it has a little splash of Alice in Wonderland in it too. But it's a very short book you'd read with a 4 or 5 year old.
Title one more time.
New and the Sea by Isabella Kung.
All right, Jim, one more.
All right, I've got Exiles by Mason Coyle. So 3 humans sent to Mars to colonize. There's some robots there waiting for them. They're supposed to help things out. But guess what? Those robots have ideas. They've started to think about things, and they're not too keen on the humans. A lot of fun. Horror book.
I hope they send Elon Musk to Mars with them.
Yeah,
just get rid of him.
There we go.
That sounds really, really fun. Yes, thank you very much there. Carly was telling me that in an email on the subject of AI, recommend creative technologist James Bridle's book, Ways of Being, a book about AI, non-human intelligence, ecology, biological computing, more than human relations, and many other ways of thinking through and surviving the new world of AI. Okay, Carly, maybe, but maybe not exactly what I want to be thinking about this time of year. Hey, I've had so much fun these 2 hours. I hope listeners have as well. And I want to thank our guests for coming in, taking time out of their day to share what they have loved about books in 2025. Emily Hessney Lynch, where do you want people to find you next year?
Serve Me the Sky on Instagram or my podcast, It's a Lot, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thank you for coming in and sharing just
Thanks for
4
having
of
me.
the 109. Adrienne Pettinelli, director of the Henrietta Public Library, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Jim Byrne, who is also at the Henrietta Public Library, adult programming librarian there, thank you for sharing your books as well.
It was my pleasure.
Listeners, I hope we got to yours if you sent one. We tried to get a lot in, and we got a lot planned for the rest of the week. There's national programming from NPR coming up. Very busy. I'm going to take just a little time next week, but I want to say Happy New Year to everyone who listens, who makes this the public square in our community. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you in 2026.
This program is a production of WXXI Public Radio. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, management, or underwriters. The broadcast is meant for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or use in another medium without expressed written consent of WXXI is strictly prohibited. Connections with Evan Dawson is available as a podcast. Just click on the Connections link at WXXInews.org.